Welcome back. This is section 2.2, Acquiring Knowledge. After studying this lesson, you will be able to differentiate between the 4 different types of knowledge, explain how knowledge of child development is used in education, identify and describe 3 executive functions, analyze Galinsky's 7 life skills, and assess the dangers of stress and trauma in children. Child development involves the study of children and adults in their lives. The first goal of child development research is to advance knowledge. The other goal is to apply that knowledge. People who work with children, especially in education, not only use available research knowledge, but also create more knowledge. For example, child care and education programs are natural laboratories for the study of children. Schools for older children are also using child development research to guide their decisions about what they teach. Popular phrases in today's school are words coming from brain studies like windows of opportunity and brain compatible learning. Professionals in health and protective services also contribute to the knowledge of child development. These experts try to prevent and treat mental health issues in children. They are returning to Erikson's theory and brain studies to provide more answers. It is becoming clear that the roots of mental health problems for children and adults are in the stressors of childhood. Although the scars of trauma and stress may be seen in the bodies of children and their behaviors, the real scars may be within their brains. So let's talk about what should children learn. So the last lesson that we did said, how do children learn? You learned that biology coupled with broad experiences determine how children learn. Because the brain is so plastic, people can learn almost anything. Thus, the how question does not answer the what question. In every culture throughout history, adults have asked, what should children learn? The answer has always been, children need to know the values and practices of the culture and have the skills needed to thrive in their world. The answer to the question does not change, but the specifics do. In this 21st century culture, the answer to the specifics of what children should learn rest in our educational system, in our schools. Schools transmit the values of the culture and teach skills needed for the workforce. The responsibility of the schools is no longer as simple as it was in the past. Parents are looking to the schools to help educate their children at younger ages than in the past. By law, children must receive 12 or 13 years of education. Today, however, many children enter the educational system during infancy or even preschool, the pre-preschool years, and continue their education through college. In this century, schools can no longer determine the exact skills needed for the workforce of the future. Because knowledge is expanding and changing so rapidly, the skills needed today will change before the current workforce retires. This means that learning has to be ongoing, which we call lifelong learning. Workers must adapt to changing career demands or even new careers. Furthermore, people in today's culture are part of the world community that requires broader knowledge, such as global economies and multicultural understandings. Schools today have a much broader responsibility for preparing students for today's world and also giving them the skills to adapt to a changing world. So let's talk now about the types of knowledge. Today, our schools are teaching 4 types of knowledge needed now and in the future. The specifics of what children should know are embedded in each type of knowledge and are sequenced in state curriculum standards and college degree programs. Your textbooks, other learning materials, and achievement tests all follow these standards. So first of all, explicit knowledge refers to knowledge about facts. It is sometimes called codified knowledge because it is written. When young children learn to name colors, shapes, animals, objects, they are acquiring codified knowledge. Schools require students to have a broad base of explicit, which we call clearly described knowledge, because no one can learn more than a small amount of codified knowledge. Education beyond high school focuses to a great extent on explicit knowledge in the specific area of study, like computer technology, medicine, law, or child development. So it totally depends what you go on to study and want to work in. Implicit knowledge is called experience-based knowledge, and it refers to skill-based knowledge. Okay, think about implicit knowledge involved in specific tasks like teaching, managing a large corporation, or operating a complex machine. Often, this knowledge is not something that can just be written. Young children begin acquiring implicit knowledge when they learn to ride a bike, swim, or balance blocks while building a structure. In a school, implicit knowledge is needed to turn ideas into an essay or project or to become a leader in a student organization. So implicit knowledge is knowledge that you gain from experience. And it's also the skills that you have. Okay, scientific knowledge is the ability to create knowledge. This type of knowledge underlies new technological development, scientific discoveries, and process advances. Although the knowledge is often acquired in laboratories, it is used in many other careers. For example, as doctors learn about new drugs or procedures, they use them in their practices. Acquiring scientific knowledge begins when young children, even babies, try different actions with their toys. For example, their scientific question might be, how can I make the pans sound louder or the boat move faster? Part of the curriculum in school involves critical thinking and problem solving. Some teens take this form of knowledge to a high level, as seen in science project competitions. Next, we have knowledge about experts. Okay, it's also called knowledge network and involves knowing who has the other forms of knowledge. The knowledge network is used in all careers to get access to needed explicit, implicit, and scientific knowledge. Knowledge about experts is becoming more and more important. Again, even young children begin to acquire this knowledge. They quickly learn which parent, sibling, or friend has the knowledge or skills they desire. They even know whether or not this person gives them correct information. Schools teach this type of knowledge when they require students to use valid or reliable sources of information. Like, for example, if I tell you to do some research on a subject in class, and you are supposed to make sure that the research is valid, and then you're not getting it from a bad source. You knowing that the source is valid, you knowing that Wikipedia isn't a valid source, is you using knowledge about experts. Okay? I may ask you to interview someone or give a group presentation, and to do these activities, you're going to have to choose someone to share the information that you need, or some source. Mastering this type of knowledge requires understanding what knowledge is needed, knowing who has this knowledge, and building a social relationship to get access to experts and their knowledge. Until the 1950s, schools were mainly concerned with preparing children to become productive workers for jobs in slower changing world. Schools could teach the needed skills for a lifetime career, such as typing and shorthand. That's writing, but in a way where it's shorter. It's hard to explain. You have to look it up. To students who want to be secretaries. These skills were not expected to change. Rote memorization, which is memorization without full comprehension, was the way children learned many facts. And it's the way that some of you, I feel like, still learn things, and then you wonder why you don't actually know or can explain the subject to someone else. It's because you simply memorized a definition rather than actually understanding what it meant. And the idea is that your teacher should be giving you projects or work that helps you truly understand what it means rather than just having you memorize things. Learning theories seem to be the best fit for this type of education. Learning theories used reinforcement for mastery of facts and skills. For example, children might be given a reward for learning multiplication tables. Rote learning did not work as well for primary grades due to the complexity of many concepts and skills. As the world changed, educators realized that rote memorization was not best for learning needed skills. So why do you think rote memorization is not the best way to learn information? I want you guys to think about that. So Robert Habinghurst, a psychologist, began to develop educational theory based on child development concepts. His research led him to the concept of developmental tasks. Developmental tasks are skills that should be mastered at a certain stage in life. Habinghurst coined the term teachable moment as the best time to teach a specific skill. He thought educators would be more effective if they used tasks for a particular level of development rather than using rote learning. Habinghurst believed that a child's readiness for a developmental task came from the following three sources. First of all, physical maturation. A baby comes into the world as a helpless being. As his or her body matures, the child is able to learn many new skills like walking and reading. Social pressures. Through rewards and penalties, society pressures the child to master important tasks. Developmental tasks differ from culture to culture because each group may value different skills. Tasks differ from region to region too. Over time, tasks also change to reflect changes in society. Like, for example, cursive. We used to learn cursive in school, but now we don't learn cursive anymore because we don't use cursive anymore. Our values as a society has changed where cursive isn't a thing that we care about and want to teach anymore. Lastly, inner pressures. The actual push to achieve comes from within children. In the end, the child is responsible for mastering each task. Children will work harder to learn tasks that they like, just like you will work harder to learn information and knowledge in class if you like the subject, which is why we give you electives so that you can choose some subjects you like. And hopefully you choose a subject you like so you will actually enjoy the class. Don't know if all of you chose a subject you liked when you took this class. We'll see. The United States is no longer an industrial economy. Today, people live in a knowledge-based economy, which means that knowledge and information along with technology drive the production of goods and services and future economic growth. The schools now need to educate children for today's world and also to be adaptable and creative. Currently, the theories of Piaget and Vygotsky are being used to inform best practices. Unlike Havinghurst, Piaget, and Vygotsky did not produce theories for education, yet their theories continue to give curriculum developer guidelines for knowing the best time for learning certain knowledge and skills. These theories also give curriculum developers guidelines for knowing how children learn, which implies how to teach, or what we call methodology. For people to reach their full potential in school, in careers, and in their personal lives, they have to not only acquire knowledge, but make good use of the knowledge they acquire. Everyone needs to know how to learn, which means to study, to recognize important information, remember, and make associations with their other knowledge that they already have. That's the best way to get things into your long-term memory, is to associate things in your short-term memory with things that are already in your long-term memory, which is why you are supposed to be drawing pictures for your vocab words, because it should help you remember them. People also need to know how to make plans, organize, and prioritize tasks, to keep track of information, and communicate effectively. Knowing how to stay focused on the task at hand, but being able to return to the primary task after being interrupted, are also important skills to learn. I feel like some of you really need to learn these still. Some people, however, are very weak in these skills. Often they cannot achieve as much as they should and have problems in working effectively with and for others. The good news is that you can improve these skills. Okay. Executive functions are intellectual functions people use to manage themselves and their resources. Your resources are knowledge and time to achieve your goals. We also call these managing functions. EFs are used in achieving all tasks. Some researchers believe that EFs may predict a person's success more than intelligence does. So, maybe if you don't think you're the smartest person, if you get better control over your executive functions, you might be more successful than somebody who's a lot smarter. Okay? Not all researchers list the same EFs, but the following three functions are always listed. Working memory, which is storing, organizing, and manipulating information while working on a task. Sometimes we call it short-term memory, but short-term memory refers to only to storing information while working on a task. Cognitive flexibility, which is being able to adjust to changing demands on your time and attention. And then inhibition, which is filtering your thoughts and feelings so as not to act impulsively. EFs have their developmental roots in early childhood and are easily seen about 9 years old, but they don't mature until 25 years of age. The lack of EFs is most often seen in children with learning and behavioral problems. Many other children have very weak EFs. EFs are fragile, and the lack of EFs can be seen for a short time in anyone who is sleep deprived or stressed. Okay, that doesn't help your executive functions. During these times, people can't focus and distractions will seem to rule their behavior. The exact causes of weak EFs are not known. Adverse effects on EFs include a chaotic and stressful environment and child neglect and abuse. Treatments can only help but not cure weak EFs. So, if you want to know if you have weak EFs, I'll tell you about them, okay? If you have weak EFs in the form of working memory, some symptoms might be that you have problems following multi-step oral directions, you cannot tell or write story details in order of occurrence, you forget a question or intended response while waiting, you can't remember a phone number while placing a call or a thought while writing it, you forget about assignments and projects. When you sound out letters, you have problem remembering the first sounds by the end of the word, so you can't combine sounds to form one word. In reading a book section, you may have problems connecting concepts, so your comprehension is weak. You may not remember oral messages. When you play games, maybe you can't keep track of moves, like in chess or checkers, or what has already been played, like in dominoes and cards. If you have weak cognitive flexibilities, some symptoms you might encounter is you might find it difficult to change rules or directions, like sort or classify by different attributes. You may have problem changing behaviors for different settings, like inside-outside voices, behavior at ball games versus behaviors at a religious service, or behaviors allowed at home versus allowed at school. You may not be able to separate main ideas from supporting details. You might find math or word problems difficult because of the shift from words to equations. And you might find it difficult to see from another person's perspective. And if you have weak inhibition, you cannot pause and think before acting. Like if you're bumped in a line, you never evaluate the bump might have been accidental. You just become angry and start hitting. You might find it easier to give up than to cope with a small setback. You might have problems resisting temptations like watching TV when homework needs to be done or eating a piece of cake when you're trying to lose weight. You might become distracted when riding a bike or watching a program. You might have problems focusing on a conversation in a busy room. You may not be able to hold a personal thought in order to not hurt someone's feelings. So you may just tell people like it is instead of holding back so they don't feel bad. So, knowing that, I hope some of you understand that you may have some weak functioning EFs in some of these areas, and maybe it'll help you understand EFs better. All right, now we're going to talk about Ellen Glinty's 7 essential life skills. All right, so she wanted to learn which skills had the greatest effect on children's development now and in the future. She spent 8 years interviewing more than 75 of the leading researchers in child development and neuroscience and filming aspects of their work. This study led her to identify 7 basic skills, which she calls essential life skills. She defined essential life skills as the intellectual, social, and emotional skills that prepare children for the pressures of modern life. Okay, so here are the 7 life skills. Focus and self-control. Focus and self-control allow children to achieve goals in a rushed world filled with distractions and information overload. This skill involves being oriented towards achieving a goal by being alert and paying attention to get more out of the information. It also requires having cognitive flexibility and exercising self-control by not going on autopilot and by delaying gratification. So I feel like a lot of you could really work on your focus and self-control because I can see in the classroom when you're not focusing on what I'm saying and you're not using self-control to stop yourself from checking Snapchat and snapping back. You're not exercising very good focus and self-control. And you need that skill in order to succeed in life. This is one of her 7 life skills that she did a lot of research to find out what skills you need to succeed in life. So if you don't have that skill, you guys really need to work on it. And you can start by working on it in my class. Okay, the next skill is perspective taking. This is a skill of figuring out what others are thinking and feeling. Understanding and respecting others' intentions are needed in a complex world. So being able to see things from other people's point of view and to even empathize with them and understand how they may be feeling and how it might be controlling their behavior. I feel like I'm pretty good at this, but while I've been pregnant, I have not been great at this, but normally I am pretty good. Some of you could also work on this. All right, the next one is communicating. Communicating is more than just listening, speaking, and writing correctly, although these skills are very important. This skill involves reflecting on the message. While doing this, one person must listen and understand another person's perspective and realize how his or her communication will be understood by others. So you really have to think about, is this person understanding what I'm trying to say? Or is the way that I'm saying this message going to come off right or not? Is it going to come off in the way that I expected to, or are they going to think I meant something totally different? The next skill is making connections. Making connections is a skill most similar to intelligence itself. This skill involves seeing how things are the same or different and determining how bits of knowledge relate to each other. People who can see unusual connections between concepts and facts are considered creative people, and they can make advances in their fields. The next skill is critical thinking. Critical thinking involves obtaining and using valid and reliable knowledge to guide your beliefs, decisions, and actions. Critical thinking requires scientific reasoning to determine what causes what. And critical thinking is very important because it's used in every job ever. When your boss comes up and says, hey, we got a problem, we notice that customers seem to do this all the time, and we really don't want them doing that. What do you think we can do to get them to stop doing that? They aren't going to give you a multiple choice answer. Okay, we can either do A, B, C, or D. They expect you to use the knowledge that you have and your skills to come up with an idea as to how you can stop that. Okay, that's critical thinking, and you're going to have to use that all the time in the real world. The real world isn't just like tests. Okay? Taking on challenges. Taking on challenges is the willingness for a person to stretch themselves rather than simply doing what is comfortable. This skill is based on an understanding that a person's abilities can grow. Okay? You are not stuck whatever level you're at. You can get better at things if you stretch yourself and you really try, if you take on challenges. Okay? Lastly, self-directed and engaged learning. This is a willingness to continue learning for a lifetime. Everyone needs to find something they are passionate about and pursue the needed learning to understand it better. This skill allows people to adapt to a changing world. Okay, so find something that you really love and want to learn more about and hopefully get a job in the field of, and that's going to help you master this skill. Essential life skills are very closely related to ES. For example, perspective taking requires a person to remember all the needed information about another person and compare the current situation with similar situations and use their working memory to do so. Perspective taking also requires the person to view the situation from both the other person's point of view and his or her point of view, which is cognitive flexibility. Finally, perspective taking requires the person to put his or her reactions aside while looking at another person's point of view, which is inhibition. For the best results, these 7 skills must be fostered beginning in early childhood, but you can still do better. So let's talk about how adults can help prevent children's stress. Child development knowledge is being applied not only by educators, but those in health and protective services. The road from conception to adult years is a very long one. Children are not born with the ability to control the harm that may come into their developing bodies, including their brains. They are not born with any idea about the world into which they have entered. Only as they interact with people and objects in their environment do they come to realize how the world works. Many children come into a world of loving parents, plentiful food and other necessities, and a supportive environment. Other children, however, are born into a world of less than responsive parents, scarcity of food, and lack of other necessities in a harsh environment, possibly even a violent one. What will be the difference in the life paths of these children? Most children in the first group will walk the path leading to a secure, happy, and fulfilling life. The children in the second group may be on a path of stress and trauma leading to an unhappy ending, mere survival at best, or becoming self-destructive or a danger to others at worst. Can people keep children on a more positive life path in this challenging world with its countless stressors? Can people guide those children already on the more dangerous life path toward positive outcomes? The answer, of course, is yes. By nature, children are survivors, but people must nurture and support each child. Applying what you know from child development research can have a powerful impact on all children. As we go through this course, you're going to learn when children are most vulnerable, what possible problems may occur, and how you can help children thrive in childhood. Doing what is right for children is their best insurance for their future as adults and for the next generation of children. So how can we guide those children on a better possible outcome? You. It's you. It's you applying the knowledge that you gain in this course to helping children have a better life.